This.
There we
Hi-
go.
Hello, hold on a second. We're trying to get you on the big screen here.
Oh, hi, cool.
Okay,
Sign in.
Tequila, this is Bonnie.
Oh, here.
This
Hi,
is
Bunny.
he's doing my IT work here.
I'm so glad you've got a hand with that because I'm pretty clueless with these things.
Usually there's like a little. Oh,
It's a
here.
green dot.
Yeah.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Yay, we got it on the
Okay,
screen.
we got it on the screen. So I'm gonna put you back, I'm gonna let Bonnie introduce
Let
you
me
first.
introduce you. Okay. Oh, I'm not used to doing this. Hi, it's nice
Hi.
to see you. I feel like I know you.
I feel
Uh,
the same way.
God has put the two of us together in a special way, and I'm privileged to be able to communicate with Tequila. Is that correct?
Tequila with an H, tequila.
Tahila. Okay, Tahila. Um, so she is the mom of two cute kiddos and a wife and a counselor. And then you do what was the other, you said relationship something,
Yeah, do international and identity coaching, yeah, internationally.
coaching internationally. And now a writer. And I have given each one of you, I think, a book called God Speaks Wealth. And so this is the author, and God speaks to me through her writing. She also happens to be the daughter of Francois and Lydia Dutoit, and I have fallen in love with the two of them and their mirror translation of the Bible. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to let you talk to us, and we bless you in the name of Jesus as you speak. Open our hearts and our ears to hear what you have to say.
Oh, thank
Should
you.
I show you around the room?
Yeah, I
So
think that'd be
you
good.
would you do
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna. Hi, I'm
Hi.
Amy Lee. I've emailed and texted with you.
Oh, it's so nice to put the face to
Yeah.
your name.
This is so I'm Amy and we've kind of met, and then do you want to
Yeah,
introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Stacy.
nice to
Yeah,
say.
Stacy. Where are you from, Stacy?
I'm from Arvada, Colorado, or Denver metro area in Colorado.
Okay,
Amazing.
Colorado. Okay, we're gonna go to the
Thank
next.
you.
This is
Hi, I'm Edie Fisk. I live outside of Colorado Springs.
Hi,
yeah.
Edie.
Okay. This is
I'm Hannah, and I live in Littleton, Colorado, and I love your book.
Oh, thanks, Anna.
yeah.
Hannah's also a counselor, and
Oh,
so
amazing.
us have met Hannah and each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hi, I'm Betsy Grace, and I live in Tennessee.
Hi, Betty.
I love this face to face.
Hi, I'm Linda Addison, and I currently live in Texas, but I'm from Colorado.
Oh, nice to meet you. It's so special to be here with all of you and understand it's morning time there.
So I'm gonna. Can you see kind of us in this crowd, this group?
Yeah, I can. I can't see all of you, but I can see enough.
We'll do jumping jack.
Awesome. I pretty much put together some thoughts that I wanted to share tonight, or today, tonight for me. But what I want to do is this is a special group of ladies, and I want it to be from what you need, each of you. So I'm happy to tweak as we go along. If something resonates and something feels like let's talk about this more, we can take our time there. This isn't a set thing that I've got to get through today. It's more about these are thoughts that I had that I really wanted to share. But if there's anything that speaks to you or that we can stay with longer or that you have questions, the more you interact, the more I know where to go. So I'd love that.
Okay.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Awesome. Now I've got to figure out my uh, admin things. I just quickly created slides because I realized I could. There was enough time. So I thought, let me make slides and I don't have to just talk and it's a bit more interesting. Now I've got to quickly find them.
You're doing great. We all have coffee. We're just hanging out.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't know why it's not downloaded. I had it on Canva. Mm, But basically, so just to introduce myself as well, like Bonnie said, I'm from South Africa, so it's evening here. And having grown up with the ministries in the sense of my father writing the Mirror Bible and my mom and dad being in that, it's been a journey for me of discovering God in my own capacity and my own relationship with Him, and then studying psychology. And it's been really interesting to see how much my dad unpacks from discovering words and unpacking the words and seeing how relevant it is today as much as it was 2000 years ago or more when it was spoken. So it's been really cool to see how relevant it still is, even with psychology, which I feel is like science based, and I get to really understand things and there's proof behind it. There's this correlation all along, which I really enjoy. I'm going to look again for the slides now, but my main thought for today was something called soul, body, mind alignment, because I've often heard in the coaching space people talk about alignment, align with yourself and align with this, and then if like getting in alignment, it gets you into flow. But it's been quite confusing of what that means. And one of the things I've learned on my journey in therapy has been that we often override the body. There's spiritual bypassing, there's intellectual bypassing, but the body gets ignored, and that body is what God chose to live in. So we have this incredible body that's part of our makeup, and He chose to live in there. And part of my own healing and from burnout and things like that was by getting in touch and getting clued up about my body. And so for me, that alignment is, am I living in my head? Am I living, just praying and spiritually trying to pretend everything's okay where I'm ignoring my body? Or am I living in my body where it's aches and pains and I'm not aware of what's going on around me? And so it's about getting them to work together. And so that's pretty much what I wanted us to speak about today, is the way that our body, mind, and spirit can work together in harmony. If you've got a car, I'm just looking for the slides. But if you've got a car and it's out of alignment, you can still probably get to A to B, from A to B, but it's not as smooth. It's very much up and down and wear on the tire and not working as well as it could. And that's what we do as well when we're trying to go just through our mind. I'm going to get myself through this intellectually, or I'm going to get through myself, like I'm just going to ignore my cold or anything like that. And what we want to do is work them all together. I have finally found my slides. I'm just going to share now. Can you all see them now?
It's a book. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
I just want choice of colors.
I first started one and it was very bright, and then I thought, actually, this is where I'm at now, so I'm glad it aligns. So the spirit that people, when they look at a biblical sense, when we talk about spirit and soul, they're two separate entities. And for today's talk, I've combined them. So I'm not speaking in the strictest sense, because the spirit is more in the biblical sense of our source, and then the soul is our mind, and then the body. But for layman's terms and for the way I've unpacked it for myself, I've split it into my soul and spirit as being my spiritual essence, myself, and then my mind as my perceived identity, and then my body as the emotional orchestra, the emotional sensations in our body. Do you mind if I say a little prayer with you all before we jump in?
Yes.
It's something I wrote quite a while ago to remind myself, and I found it today really, really per chance. And I thought, no, then this is definitely something I want to share again. So, dear God, there are so many distractions, a constant bombardment of expectations and messages calling in our moment-to-moment attention. I believe we're alive in a time ripe with possibility and potential. I also believe there is a calling for much more relationships and relational living. Social media wouldn't be thriving the way it does if we weren't all craving connection, craving to be seen and to see others. but it's hard to hear my truth in the noise of other people's filtered highlight reels, the noise of what I was raised to believe as a good girl, a good woman, a good wife, a good mother. So the noise of good versus bad, as if whose we are and the source within us is even up for question. Help me every day to hear the truth you share with me and to follow the nudgings that are meant for me. Help my friends and family to hear your voice resonating with their souls between the noise. Show us the way to a magnificent life full of miracles and meaning. Thank you. Thank you that knowing you makes my heart so easy to surrender into. Amen. I just feel with the noise out there, there's this constant bombardment and information. And every time we feel like we're getting somewhere, there's another distraction, or seeing somebody else and what they're up to, or where they are, or what they've done. And it can feel like we're constantly catching up. And so this was for me just in the midst of, I know we're craving connection. And how are we going to do it? I really felt this year that I want more communities. There's a lot of independence in the world, but I want communities. I want a sense of sisterhood. I want a sense of we're in this together. And that's really where my heart is at this year. And so, yeah, that's what we're here for. And yeah, I wrote a lot, Jack. Like I said, I quickly did this last time, but we don't have to read it all. But there is so much pressure at the time. There was this guy, Dr. Will Cole. He said that the average adult today has the same amount of anxiety than what people were psychiatrically institutionalized. The average adult today has the same amount of anxiety than what people were institutionalized for in the 1950s. So there's so much happening around us, and it almost feels wrong because we've got more medical care, we've got more access to information, we've got more entertainment than ever, we've got more faster flights and traveling methods. So there should be less of that, but there's more anxiety, more pressure, more loneliness, because there's this constant striving of there. I've got to get there. Once I'm there, we're going to be okay. Once I'm this healthy or this rich or this connected or in this relationship. And we're always chasing something based on a lot of input from the external world, based on the social media and on what the media has taught us and what our cultures have taught us. And so even having more connection than before, more information, there's a lot of dis-ease. I like somebody put it once that they said dis-ease is dis-ease. So for me, it's the body's not at ease, the mind is not at ease, the spirit is not as at ease. Sometimes the spirit's at ease, but we're struggling to create it in our lives. I remember the one day walking in the we call it a veld, but it's like, I don't know if that's an Afrikaans word, so like a big grass plain. And I was praying to God, and I was just worried about my kids. There was bullying happening at school, and my son's had up and down sicknesses and things. So it's been a journey. And I remember walking and praying and just saying, God, this and this and this and this, and then hearing, do you trust me? And I'd be like, of course I do, but this and this and this and this. And then I heard him again, do you trust me? And again, I was like, of course I do. I do trust you, but this and this and this and this. And after about the fifth or the sixth time of me saying, but, I realized what he meant, because I say I trust him, but I need things to look in a certain way for me to feel like, oh, okay, now things are working out. Whereas even when it doesn't look that way, I could trust him. And so I'm sharing because I'm sure that we can all resonate with times where we're like, okay, as soon as that bill is paid or this kid is, then we can feel, but this alignment, this ease does not come from everything being perfect outside. It comes from the alignment within. My mind is trusting my body and my body is trusting God, and vice versa.
I have a question.
Please.
Do you believe that trusting him and not trusting him, to be able to trust him, comes from something does he have to put that trust in you, or is that something that you can go, oh, okay, I just try. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
I think so. Correct me if I'm misunderstanding it. For me, the trust is, I feel like he's given us our free will, and so we try and figure things out on our own. I'm going a little bit around here, but we can lean on his trust when ours feels fragile. So we don't have to manufacture enough trust or enough faith, but that step is ours to take. Like, okay, God, like that's for me what surrender is. And when I picture surrender, it's like an opening of your arms, like that trust fall, but it's like an embrace. It's this, okay, I'm all yours. And we don't have to do it. It's not a test, but if we look at alignment or attunement, the Gottmans talk about trust as being tuned into each other. So the Gottmans are relationship therapists that have studied relationships since the 60s. And they talk about trust being when you attune to each other. And they use the analogy of a radio. And I know that a lot of the young kids today probably wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but the radios used to have that dial. And you'd literally have to try and turn it to try and get to the right frequency. And if you're a little bit off, there'd be static. There'd be all sorts of funny noises. You wouldn't be able to really hear the song. You have to fine tune. And to be able to build trust in the relationship, they talk about us tuning into each other. Like we're living in our station, they're living on their station, and saying, hey, I want to tune into your station, and having our partner tune into my station. And so back to the question with God, I feel like that's where the trust comes in for me, of tuning into his station, because my station at the moment is very loud with kids and bills and all things like that. So it's about my trust is tuning into his trust, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, it makes sense.
Does that answer the question, or is there still a part that I can clarify?
Yes, but I feel like I don't trust him, and then I will say I don't trust you, because I will be honest with him. And I feel like I try to muster up or tune into his station, but I just wonder if it's something that if I can figure out how to just have complete rest, the trust actually comes from him. I can't muster up the trust. I can tune into this, I can do this, I can do this. It seems like it's more of a doing thing instead of stepping back and him showing me that I can trust him.
I think at different times it will be different things. Sometimes it will be more active than others. But if I think of scripture, when Jesus healed people, it was typically with an instruction, like get up and take your mattress, or walk and go wash your eyes. So there is this action that we take with it, but it's they all did it from the identity of knowing it's done. So the trust, when we don't feel like we can trust him, and we can tell him that I think it's when I don't know what to do, I do nothing. If I'm tuning in and I'm not hearing, then I don't do something. But what I find with the anxiety that most of us, if not all of us, are living with daily, feeling like we're not doing something can feel really scary. Like we need to be actively doing something to feel safe, because then we're in control. I'm taking this action, I'm doing this. And so some of it can be, I'm going a little deep here, but to be able to trust God is, what's in my control and what's not in my control, and help me to do the things that are in my control, and the things that aren't, I leave to him. I don't know if this speaks to that, but I was thinking about last year, my son was in hospital. We were in hospital this weekend as well. He's there often, but last year we were in hospital with him, and it was a very near call. We were almost lost him. And the scripture that kept coming into my head was, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And I thought, what a ridiculous scripture. How can you be talking about joy when I'm sitting here praying for my son and I can't stop crying?
Oh.
What I realized was, it doesn't say the joy of the Lord is my joy. I didn't have to have joy there. He could have joy because he knows the end result. He knows the whole picture. So he was having joy, and I could lean into his joy as at that stage, was like a crutch. So my faith at that stage, my trust was leaning into that's his finished picture, and there's nothing I can do right now, but I trust that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thank you for asking. I love that we can all, and if anybody else has a different answer or a different thing they want to add, please do. This isn't me needing to be the only one that answers. I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom in the room. We've covered this as well. One thing I want to say is so many times what I've realized is we think that there is where our peace is, where our happiness is, where our joy is. So, like I said earlier, once I've got that salary, or once I've got that house, or once I've got that relationship, or once my kids are better, then I'm going to be happy. And what I've noticed more and more over the years is that the journey there is the whole point. Because every time you get to Z, there's a new end point. Z becomes A. And from this lookout, you put a different viewpoint, and then that becomes the next, and then that becomes the next. And so if we can see our journey as the destination, as the goal of it all, it brings a little bit more of stepping back, because I feel like we're so hurried because we're tired, we're anxious, there's so much going on. So if we can just get the weekend going, or if we can just get that retreat finished, or if we can just then we're going to feel. But all the build up to there is relevant and beautiful and special.
Oh, I love this.
My favorite story, and my dad often speaks of it, but is the swan, the ugly duckling. Because as a therapist, I've seen over the years, as a counselor, people come into my office thinking they're ugly ducklings, and helping them to pretend to be a swan. Like, how do I, fit into society as a swan when I'm an ugly duck? And for me, it's about holding up the right mirror, because I could just imagine this little swan born in the duck family or in the wrong nest. And as it was growing up, it noticed that around it, his siblings are looking different, and the farmyard animals will notice that he's looking different to his siblings. So he tries to pull his neck in more, he tries to put his wings in more, he tries to quack a little softer. But the more he tries to fit in, the more he probably stumbles or quacks funny and sounds even more ridiculous. And that makes him feel even more ridiculous. And it's this vicious cycle. And so many of the people that I work with grow up thinking, oh, I'm too loud, or I'm too noisy, or I'm too emotional, or I'm not strong enough, or not clever enough, or I'm not this enough. And we try and adapt, and we try and do these things to fit in, making us make more mistakes and then feel even more silly. But the ugly duckling, this swan, never needed lessons to be a swan. When it saw its reflection, it could own its identity. And for me, that's pretty much what looking at God is, what alignment is, what I feel like my work is holding up the right mirror. I often went with the kids when they were smaller to amusement parks where they have those mirrors that can make you really look long and lanky and wobbly and round and short, and I have all these different mirrors, and they're all you, but they have different reflections, and it's lots of fun to do when it's a fun thing like that. But when we're looking at ourselves, by the waters of quiet reflection, my soul remembers who I am. It's about who you are, not who you need to become. And I feel like we're bombarded with you need to become. I can't remember exactly who said it, but they said you're not a human being having a spiritual experience, but you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And that's always been so grounding for me, because we often mix up the two. We think, oh, okay, that was a spiritual moment. I really had this close spiritual encounter with God, but we are at essence spirit. And our life at this stage is a human experience. My dad often uses the analogy of chutes and ladders. In South Africa, we call it snakes and ladders, but that game that you play, and he says we often go through life like with the spin of the dice and like hoping, oh, please get up a ladder, and oh no, there we go down the chute again. instead of realizing that we started at heaven. We don't work our way to heaven, we started there. And when we know that that's our source, our grounding, our foundation. I don't know about you ladies, but I'm a sucker for romance. I love romance. Rom-coms are my best. But I often watch these where these ladies are born and then they find out, not often, I've seen quite a few, but not often, but they're royalty, but they didn't know it. And then when somebody finds them and comes and tells them, like, actually, you're royal blood, like, wow, you know, then they're royalty, regardless of whether they thought it or not. And I feel like so many of us need to have that same awakening of the royalty of God that we come from as our identity. God made us in his image and likeness. I can't remember who said it, and it wasn't me, but he said that we spend so much of our time putting God into our image instead of him, and he's put us into his image and likeness, but we try and make him small enough to fit into, you know, oh, this is a big deal, God, this is a really big deal. Can you please help with this, and make him smaller in that? So these are just some beautiful scriptures that I really think that rings true of who we are in Christ. I have called you by name, you are mine. I rejoice over you with singing. You are engraved on the palms of my hands. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. You are the apple of my eye. Nothing can separate you from my love, nothing. You are made in my image and my likeness. You are my masterpiece. I often look at incredible sunsets and nature, and I'm just blown away to think that we are the masterpiece, because those things just put me in so in awe. I am well pleased with you. I have dealt with you bountifully. My work is perfect. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. What I love about this good and perfect gift, perfect is a pretty bold claim. That's a very bold claim. And then he says a gift. It's not an earning. It's not something I work hard enough for, if I'm faithful enough, or if I strive enough, or if I go to church enough. It's a gift. And it all comes from him. We are all with unveiled faces, beholding as in the mirror the glory of the Lord, being transformed into the same image from glory to glory. So it's that looking at and recognizing your glory. A mirror doesn't judge us. A mirror does not judge us. It's us that judge us, what we see in that mirror. If I look at my friends, how often we look at a photograph and the first thing they'll say is, oh, my fringe, I can't believe I let it grow out like that. Or, oh, can you believe that pimple it's this instant seeing what's wrong. But if we can look in the mirror, glory to glory. And then this morning I was thinking about a scripture that says, I will no longer judge any person from a human point of view. I found that an incredibly hard scripture. I remember learning it as a teenager, and I was like, how do you not? But then this morning it struck me how much we judge ourselves. So we've got this compassion for others, but we can judge ourselves. Like, oh, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you did that. Or I can't believe you're doing these things. And so I want to just invite us to not judging ourselves, having compassion for ourselves too. Any questions or thoughts so far?
I'm enjoying all of this personally.
Yeah.
Everyone else has a voice, though. You guys share. It's helpful to get feedback.
I was wondering if,
oh, go ahead. Who's
sorry. I was wondering if we can get a copy of these slides.
Sure.
To be able to.
I'd be happy to share them, and I'll send them to Bonnie.
Okay,
Thank you.
I was going to say, I appreciate the fact you're going back to our identity is in Christ before the foundation of the world.
Yeah.
And I think in most of my life, our experience has been focused on the Garden of Eden and starting there. And our mirror takes us back to who we were before that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we get our identity, not from Adam and Eve.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's good, Bonnie.
Yeah. I shared on that actually on Facebook the other day. I was thinking about it, how I work a lot with couples, and so there's a lot of stresses, financial stresses, children, being on the spectrum, schools. Those stresses have a big impact on relationships, and then their communication styles from childhood or their fears from childhood often surface in marriage. And I was thinking how Adam and Eve had everything, they didn't have to stress, they didn't have to work. There was like, it was just them and God in this garden, and it was just bountiful. And they still doubted. They doubted enough to eat that apple. So it's not about how wrong we are, but it's more about the identity we take when we doubt. So God built us, made us, even though He knew they were going to eat from the apple, not thinking that the doubt, He went and looked for them in the garden. He went and called their names. They were hiding. Their identity shifted. Ah, there could be separation here. And so the identity part is really important for me. And like you say, Bonnie, like He knew us before He formed the world. That's never changed. It's with doubt. I often personally am replacing where I think the devil or, sin or something, I replace it with the word doubt. Oh, doubt's creeping in here. A lot of people will say, oh, the devil's really been strong, or it's been coming to, like, doubt's been strong today. My dad says, or one of his quotes is, we preach a defeated devil back into business way too often. And so I like I like the word doubt, because it's the same doubt that Adam and Eve had. It was like, oh, maybe we're not that good. Maybe there is more. And for me, it's often, maybe this month I'm not going to be able to pay all the fees, or maybe I'm not going to get my son's right medication, or maybe I'm not. That's doubt. That's not fact. And so remembering our identity as royalty, as God's beloved children, as the spiritual beings, is so powerful.
So good. Mm.
I'm not going to spend too much time on the mind, because I feel like the mind is, there's so much to it, but I do feel it's a place where we tend to all bypass most things. We overthink things. We spend a lot of time in our mind. And it is because as kids, well, this is my belief, we often got into trouble for our feelings. Not intentionally, not because our parents were horrible, but emotions weren't seen for what they are today. They were seen as a nuisance, a hindrance, like there wasn't EQ like there is today. So a lot of us grew up with children to be seen and not heard, or if you were crying, calm down, or don't be such a baby, or it's nothing, or distract you with a sweetie. Here's a sweetie, don't worry about this. And so what that taught us is that there's something wrong with us, because these emotions have sensations in our body. And if they aren't accepted, then we push them down. And then the safe place is our mind, because we get told, oh, that was a very good problem solving, or that was very nicely said, or that's how you talk to people. There was a lot of emphasis on mind. And so a lot of adults I work with have headaches, shoulder aches, neck aches. It's all upper body, because we've had to shut down our sensories, information from our body. I looked at my kids when they were little, and there was a teacher that they weren't happy with at all. And it unfortunately took me a while to recognize it, but there were stomach aches every day. And I was like, oh, it's just a stomach ache. I'm sure it's nothing. Keep them at home. And then I'm like, okay, no, this is happening all the time. Just get over it. It's just a stomach ache. Like, it's just stress. And like, hang on a second. It's just stress. That's an important message. What are they stressed about? And so when I'm going to go into the body part now. I'm jumping ahead. But our mind is where we put a lot of emphasis, because it keeps us out of the sensations and into problem-solving mode, so that we can keep feeling like we're in control. So this isn't an accurate split up of the brain at all. This is just a way for me that's easy to explain it. Where I typically try to focus on is the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of our brain. That is for conscious thinking, problem solving, reasoning. Your subconscious mind is your automatic behavior, where your identity basically lives from. So the things that we do on autopilot. There are a lot of habits that form them. And they say something like 96% of our thoughts or 80% of our thoughts from yesterday we repeat today. So every day is a repetition of the previous day's thoughts. And the reptilian brain, that's our primitive brain at the back here. It's our limbic system. It's the part for survival. If I live in Africa, so if a lion comes, there's this instant reaction. You're either going to freeze, or you're going to try and run away, or you're going to try and fight it off. So that's your survival brain. And you'll often see that in, do you want me to wait for Bonnie quickly? I don't.
Go ahead. She said, go ahead.
You'll see it in relationships. If you can see it with your children, you can see it with your partners. Some of you, when you're fighting, when there's an argument coming, there's this attack. What did you say? I can't believe you said that. Just tell me what you meant. I want to know what you meant. That's your fight response. It's a survival response. It's not a logical response. It's my brain saying, there's a lion. We've got to fix this. Some of you might find you freeze. I'm a freezer. I'm like, there's a million thoughts. I've got so many things I want to say. Not a single word comes out.
Yeah.
And then others will be like, F this, I'm out of here, screw you, I don't need you, and storm out the room. That's your flee response. And so these are just helpful to understand our behaviors in these. So we give a lot of emphasis to our conscious thinking, but that's such a small part of us. That's such a small part of what we're actually aware of. Most of the day is around our subconscious mind and then our survival instincts. If you think of it, I don't know how many of you drive, but I work from home now, but when I didn't, I would get home from work so many times and think, oh crap, did I stop at the traffic light? Did I stop at that stop street? Because I was on autopilot, thinking about what's for dinner, have the kids got their things for tomorrow, is the homework done? That I get there and I'm like, and obviously I did, but my brain was so on autopilot to get home that was automatic. I've driven that road 100 times. I've driven for many years, so I don't have to be aware of it. So our subconscious mind is taking care of a lot of things. And if you think of driving, it's quite an important thing, and it even takes care of that. So your mind builds a story of who you are based on what's happened to you and the roles you've had to play. The story is not always true, but the mind believes it and often defends it fiercely. What I do want to ask people is usually where is your mind too full? Like what we often do is we're carrying other people's responsibility. We're like, oh, this person's going to feel this, and this person's going to think this, and this person, we're analyzing around us. So sometimes it's good to put down, like, what can I put down? What's not mine? As a parent, I've often learned that my kids are going to be disappointed, and it sucked. I hated it. I was like, I don't want to disappoint them. But they're going to be disappointed. Life's full of disappointment. Like there are things, but it's just a feeling. It's saying this just doesn't feel so nice. I really wanted that. It's not a fact. It's not a changing of personality. It's an event with an emotional cue of this doesn't feel nice. And I used to try and hold their disappointment or hold their frustration, and I can't. And so to be mindful of what are we trying to hold and what are we thinking of that's not ours for now? One thing I really love about the mind is that what we tend to do is our mind is like a GPS. And I've got ADHD, so I'm going in two different thoughts here, but getting back to the GPS. If you had to, let's say you're coming to South Africa and you want to come to my house and we're going to all get together at my house, and I tell you, please do not go to that town. And whatever you do, do not go to that town. And when you get to that city, you've definitely gone too far. And don't go to that street and don't go to that house. You're not going to have a clue how to get to me. Like there's just this zero. Like, how? But we do that with our brains all the time. Oh, I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to speak like this, and I don't want to feel like this, and I don't want to be like my mom, or I don't want to be like my dad, or I don't want to be like that, or I don't want to say it like that, or I don't want to. Our brain is so confused, like, okay, where do I go with this? Because our brain is a problem solver. It wants to figure things out. I remember in my exams and university, waking up at 3 a.m. going, that was the answer. And that exam was the morning. I'd gone out with friends. We'd gone for dinner, all these things in the meantime, but my brain still worked on it. And so when we put in the right GPS of where we want to go, or how we want to show up, or who we want to be like, or whatever it is that we want instead of what we don't want, our brain can get there much quicker because subconsciously it can keep working on where you do want to go versus where you don't. And personally, I think that's why a lot of these vision boards have done so well, because it's helped people go into, oh yes, I would love a house like that, and I would love a pool, and I would love this, and you're putting the GPS track like where you want to go instead of where you don't want to go. And then So we've got patterns and habits. I can talk a whole day just on that. But one thing I do want to say is we also mistake similarity, and I don't know why my thing is so sensitive. I need to do something with my mouse. But we mistake familiarity and safety. What we often do in relationships with people, we'll be like, oh, I don't know what it is about them. I just feel so safe with them. And it's often a familiarity. Our brain, if we look at our primitive brain, our survival brain, it's meant to keep us alive. That's its number one job. Everything else is great, but when a lion is chasing you, looking at that incredible sunset is going to get you killed. Looking at that incredible toucan or whatever in the tree is going to get you killed. So all it's focused on is there's a cliff, there's a tree, maybe I can get up there. It's problem solving and getting out of danger. And so when change is a threat to that, if we look at our primitive brain, we've been living in a certain cave for many, many years, it knows that cave. It might not be the best cave, but it knows this is where I hide from the lion, this is where my water source is, this is where this is. And anything that's different to that cave can feel threatening. That's why change is so hard, because it can be like, ooh, I don't know where that water source is going to be. And if a lion comes, so part of us is protecting us from that. And unfortunately, in relationships, we tend to mistake familiarity in someone. We can often be like, oh, I don't know what it is about this person, but they just feel so safe. And that safety is a familiarity. And often the familiarity of, I don't feel heard. That what comes out later is like, oh, somebody that doesn't hear me or doesn't validate my experience or makes me feel like I'm too much or too little again. So there is a familiarity there. And unfortunately, what we tend to do is that when we're resting, because I've got a point on resting later, but when we're resting, if we've been in survival mode for a really long time, that can feel wrong. It doesn't feel familiar. We're not used to it. So then our brain says, something's wrong here. I've worked with too many women that say, oh, I can't sit down. Like, I don't know what to do when I sit down. My brain just, you sit down, you're about to have your cup of tea, and then it's like, oh my goodness, the laundry, or I shouldn't have said that to that person. That was a bit much. Maybe I could have said it differently. Our brain has to get back into that little panic mode because it's so used to being stressed out. If we think of our nervous system, this is a healthy nervous system. If I can use my hair elastic, I don't know if you can see it. I can't see myself, so I don't know. Yes. So this is like a healthy nervous system would be almost like my hair elastic, which means there's a lion, I stress out, I survived, I go back to feeling calm and safe. And then there's a lion and I stress out and then I come back to, or there's a fight with my partner and I come back to, or there's a financial stress and I come back to. But this is a healthy nervous system, not one that stays here all the time. But most of us are here pretty much constantly braced because we don't feel good enough, strong enough, fit enough, clever enough, or whatever, that we don't feel safe. So we're stretched out constantly. And so when we go into rest, when we can sit down, this feels so unfamiliar. And so we think of things to get us back here again. And so what I would like us all to do is to just think of times or things that make us feel safe. So taking time throughout the day, whether it's 30 seconds at a time, but just for a moment, allowing your body to feel safe. What we want to do is we want to force it into this shape intentionally to say, hey, this becomes familiar now too. This is not as strange as what it felt the first or the second or third time. Because now what we tend to do is we get there and then quickly try and get out. Oh no, this isn't nice. This isn't nice. And what we need to do is make this familiar. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good visual. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. The body. I'm a very big fan of the body because in my degrees, we got taught a lot about the brain. I knew which areas of the brain and what each one's function is, but we didn't really talk about the body. And body work has become a lot more popular lately, somatic work in therapy. But one thing I've learned about the body and that I firmly believe is that our body loves us unconditionally. I feel like it's like the closest we get to knowing how much God loves us in the sense of that unconditional. Obviously, with pain and things, God's love is pure. This is more tainted. But if you think of how bad we treat our bodies, I used to smoke as a teenager in my early 20s. We drinking, like eating rubbish, talking bad to our bodies, like, oh, you're you're fat, you're ugly, you're this, you're stupid. We abuse our bodies. But as soon as the flu comes around or something comes around, our body starts fighting. So for me, it's this illustration of unconditional love. Like, doesn't matter how bad you treat me, I love you and I'm going to fight with you for whatever we can or we need to. And I love helping my clients to talk to their bodies. So it sounds very weird, but to talk to sensations in their body. So noticing a sensation in their body and asking their body what it needs. And what I love is that over all the years, if you've ignored it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, doesn't matter. Your body, 90% of the time, immediately starts communicating. It's not something you have to build a relationship with first before it communicates, usually. So if you had to all just take a moment and sit, just notice how you're sitting or standing. How does your body feel? Like, you don't have to share, you're welcome to, but notice you might have been really uncomfortable and, oh, I didn't even notice. I was intellectually bypassing it, shifting around. And if you had to ask your body right now what it needs, what comes up? Whether it makes sense or not does not matter.
Mine says, thank you that I went ahead and got up.
That's exactly right.
I've for many years now had problems with my legs, and recently, well, 6 years ago, I fell on ice, and ever since I've had a lot of like neuropathy type stuff and just different issues with my legs and feet, and I was really mad at my legs and feet for not performing the way I wanted them to, or just causing me a lot of pain and discomfort. And so I would find myself like just talking badly to my legs and feet, like, why are you feeling like this? And then I realized, well, that's not helping anything. And so I got into the habit of, when I put my lotion on after my shower, I will talk nicely to my legs.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing such a good job, or you're like, thank you for, doing whatever today, and being able to withstand. And it just made a huge difference whenever I would do that. So I talk to my legs now. Like, you can do this today.
I love that. That's alignment with your body. That's tuning in and being compassionate and caring to your body. If you had to ask it what it needs, like as you do the practice of talking to it, maybe asking it as well, like, what do you need from me today?
Yeah, hadn't considered that, but yes, I like that.
I'm asking right now.
I need to go get Zofran because my stomach's upset.
Oh, no.
I'll be right back.
Perfect.
I'm going to go to the bathroom too.
Okay, you can go.
I won't be gone.
I heard breath for me. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Amy. I do too.
Deep breathe, very shallow breaths.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
I love how a couple of years ago, meditation became really cool. Like, it became mainstream and everybody's meditating and they're talking about these breathing techniques. And if you look at the word of God, the name of God, the original Hebrew, Yahweh, which is made, his name was made because of the letters that they put together for how it sounds when you breathe. And that's the breath sound is his name, Yahweh, Yahweh. Like that was the sound they were trying to imitate. And so that take your breath, every time you do, you're calling his name. You're like having a conversation with him. And it became, all these people are like, oh, I'm feeling so much better. I'm so much calmer. I'm so much more healed. And without knowing it, they've been saying God's name, like more intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of thoughts that I'm busy with my next book, God Speaks Health. So I've been playing with ideas of the body and talking to God and all these things. And what's really been striking to me is that God chose the body to live in. He wanted to come and dwell in our bodies. It wasn't like, Jesus had, I think of how he was crucified on the cross. As a parent, if my kid had to die for the world or whatever, I'd struggle with doing that in the first place. But if they did, I want it as quick and pain-free and unexpected as possible. Like, let's just get it over and done with. Okay, he's done it. Jesus was tortured, humiliated, in pain and agony. He didn't bypass it. And that really stuck with me for quite a while and I really feel it's to meet us wherever we're at, whether we're feeling healthy, whether we're in excruciating pain. There is nowhere that he's not, that he doesn't understand it. Where it's like, oh, I don't know what that really feels like. He's felt it. He's been through it. He's been in there with us and in his own experiences. So even the disciples, like, they're shipwrecked and beaten and stoned and imprisoned. And I really love how Paul, I think it was, I'm so bad with names, but he was in prison and he was talking about how good God is. Like, he was making up these Greek words, like these huge words, like how incredible he is and that there can be no distance. And so he chose our bodies and he came to inhabit our bodies. And I feel like it's so important to acknowledge that human side. We're not just trying to get to heaven. We're not just trying to be spiritual, but there's a human element that he enjoys living with us. And that experience, that A to Z, that in between is part of the experience. Latin word for educate. I've got a big thing with schooling. No offense if you guys are teachers, but I do feel our education system is very outdated. Children shouldn't be sitting down as long as they do, and there should be more play-based learning, is what I believe. But what I really enjoy is that the Latin word for educate means to draw out.
Amazing. It's so good.
Yeah.
We've often put in, give them more information, make sure they know this. There's so much wisdom within us.
Yeah, that's really good. So good.
And then this part, I don't know if it's going to ruffle some feathers, but we are very sensual beings. We're made.
Hey, Tequila. You swan, you.
We are made for pleasure. And it is so fun, like interesting how we've been denying that. Like, we feel guilty, but we have so many sensory reciprocals. We were made for senses with our eyes, with our bodies, with every organ. It's for input, but it's made for beyond input. It's not just reproduce or feed. There's an enjoyment to life as well. I often speak to my kids about God really could have made every flower in the world the same, all the trees the same, all the flowers the same, but there's literally bugs that are colors that our eyes can't see. And there's certain seeds that a mouse has to eat to be able to germinate. Like, there's these intricacies beyond our wildest imagination, because he knew we would go and explore and be like, oh my goodness, this really, and this really, and this really. It could have been, but he knew that we had this pleasure and this enjoyment for life and for exploration and for beauty. We often eat the whole cake, not because it feels good, but it's because we're afraid of the next diet. When we're eating cake, what we typically do is you can love that slice. You might, if you're really enjoying it, get halfway and be like, wow, that was amazing, and have enough. Maybe a full slice. But what we tend to do is we eat the whole cake because we're like, oh, Monday I'm going to stop eating sugar again. So, we're afraid of pleasure. So we bypass it. We are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, but what makes us different from every other animal is that we also seek value, meaning, and purpose. Your pleasure sensors are part of that guidance system. So when you override them, you're blocking off access to something God built in you. we seek pleasure, avoid pain. Like I said, keeping us alive. Every day we're making decisions on trying to seek pleasure and avoid pain. But when we feel guilty for that pleasure, or when we feel guilty for rest, or when we feel guilty for enjoyment, then it becomes painful. And so we go in this loop. But we are made to enjoy, to have a sensory relationship with life. Sensual, sensory in all aspects. Feelings are not facts. So I believe our body is our feeling center. And even though it all stems from our brain, we've got an area in our brain that activates the feelings. And just like when you step on a thorn, it's your brain that reacts. But a lot of the conversation is happening in our body. The sensations are happening in our bodies. And these feelings are messages. They're not facts. So when I'm feeling sad, there's a message that something happened that's uncomfortable, that there's some loss attached, that there's that distance or grief happening. When I'm feeling angry, there's a message. There's different messages that come through them. And sometimes they're very valid, like, oh my goodness, there's a lion and it's important. And sometimes it's poor sleep and, lots of traffic on the way to work and all these things that feel like they're going wrong. And then somebody says the wrong thing and then we snap at them thinking, oh, but it's their fault. But it was a cascade of things. But the point is, they need to be felt. They need to be heard. They don't need to be taken as facts, but they need to be acknowledged. So if you're stepping on a burning fire, like if you've been at a fire and there's a coal that fell out and you step on it, the first message is lift your foot. The message isn't, what is that? Figure it out. You better figure it out while your foot is burning. The first message is lift your foot. Once you've lifted your foot, then you go and explore what it is. The white blood cells start forming and all this information goes up and down. But it first starts screaming at you, lift your foot. And once you've lifted your foot, it doesn't need to keep screaming that. It's still going to hurt. It's still going to need white blood cells, but that message can move on. And our sensations are the same. Our feelings are the same. They think they're warning us. They think they're guiding us. So when we ignore it, they tend to have to get louder and louder and louder to get our attention. And so we can get rage, or we can get, Dr. Gabor Mate has seen that so many women have autoimmune disease, and he sees a strong correlation between autoimmune and suppressed emotions. It's like our body, like we start feeling like the enemy because we're abandoning ourselves so much. Like it doesn't recognize that's me anymore because I've abandoned me so much along the way of making everybody else happy. And as children, many of our emotions were mocked, blamed, ridiculed, or distracted away. We never learned that they were safe. So for me, what I feel is, as a kid, if you were really sad because you couldn't get the blue cup and somebody could hold you and say it's okay without giving you the blue cup, without distracting you from the blue cup, or without mocking you because you wanted the blue cup, you would notice two things. One is, oh, adults aren't scared of them because they're not shouting at me because of it, or they're not distracting me from it. And two, I was sad and then it went away. It doesn't stay there. But we didn't get to experience that. So now most of us are really scared of emotions because A, they were so scary that they made grown-ups scared. And B, they feel so all-consuming. I don't know in my body that it actually passes. And so we avoid feelings. And you'll find that there were certain feelings you were allowed as a kid and certain ones you weren't. And those ones that you weren't, you'll work very hard to avoid in your adult relationships. Your kids will trigger the crap out of you with them. You will try and eat them away, or get really angry when you see them. But there are certain feelings you weren't allowed. And it's not about that those feelings are facts, but our bodies need to learn that they're emotions with a message. And once we listen to the message, it can pass. It doesn't have to stay stuck in our body. It's still trying to protect us from the burning coal where there isn't a burning coal. So we need to take time to make friends with them. Before I go into the slide, I feel like I've been speaking a lot. Any questions or thoughts or anything you want to ask?
I love it.
Awesome. Do you need a break? Do any of you need to just stand up and stretch?
When did you realize you were a swan?
Oh, good question. It still sometimes surprises me. Yeah. I think that, yeah, there's moments where I'm so ecstatic to be the swan for other people and be like, oh, look, you're also a swan, you're so, and then to realize like, oh, I am also like, it's wonderful, but it's intimidating sometimes. It's Marianne Williamson had this beautiful quote in her book that Nelson Mandela used in his speech, but it was, it's our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. Like, who am I to be brilliant and worthy and wonderful? Like, there's this fear that we have with it because of humility and trying not to be above others. And in my work with teenagers, I've often noticed I can tell them, like, God says you're his masterpiece. He doesn't want you to feel small. It doesn't mean, like, as soon as we have to put somebody down to feel good about ourselves, that's where the problem comes in. If I need to make you feel small to feel good about me, that's where the ego things come. But if it can just be like, I'm a swan and you're a swan, it's so beautiful. I shared this the other day. I did a talk with Pamela and Patrick's group in America. And I shared about this lady that I saw. She went into a class of preschoolers. I think they were about 4 years old. And she went into the class and she asked them, who's the strongest in this class? And all the little hands shot up. They were all like, I am. And then they looked around and they were like, you too? That's so cool. Can we be friends? Like, so excited. There was no competition. It was just this, yay, you're also that. Let's be friends. But by the time they got to grade 1 or grade 2, and she went into the classes and asked who's the strongest, they'd started measuring themselves. And so that's one, that's an important part if we can recognize our own unique features and that they're invitations to others. They're not competition.
Good.
These are some important points, especially for women, that I find. Shame and guilt. There's a difference between shame and guilt. Guilt says, I made a mistake, and it's really important. We don't have to feel guilty all the time. Often we think it's guilt, but we're actually feeling uncomfortable because our kids are uncomfortable or our partner's uncomfortable, and we think it's our fault. Like if I said no to the kids and they're upset and I feel guilty, that's not actually guilt. That's me trying to feel their bad feelings. But where the guilt does come in is, let's say the other night I yelled at my kids, and then when I got into bed, I felt really guilty about it. That's great. That's my body saying, I don't want to be that parent. I don't want to parent like that. What do I need to do to not be yelling at my kids? Go to bed earlier, work less, whatever it is, but make plans. So guilt is a healthy guidance system. Just to again clarify, it's when it's proper guilt, not when we're trying to take other people's feelings as our own. That's not guilt. But shame says you are broken. There's something wrong with you. And how this shows up in our relationships, it can be like, I often use the analogy of my husband's pickup. I think you guys call it a pickup. We call it a bakkie, but a big like, car with an open space at the back. He loves his. And if I had to borrow it and drive it into the lamppost, for example, guilt would be, oof, I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone. I'm so sorry. It was a really, I know how much you love your car. What mechanics do you like? What can I do to fix this? There's this, I do feel really bad, but as a behavior, not as a person. Shame would say, you're such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. I should never have taken his car. I can't believe I'm such an idiot. How stupid am I? I will never drive his car again because I'm such an idiot. I'm such a klutz. And two things that happen there is, one, the shame makes it about my identity, which is the worst feeling in the world. And two, it makes it about me. He can't get angry then even because it's all about me. So it robs the relationship of necessary conversation. But we often feel shame. And I really believe a lot of it is because as children, we weren't heard. We felt like too much or too little or too loud or too emotional. And so it was this constant message of, oh, there's something wrong with me. And so that's why the identity part is so important for me of neither do I condemn you. There is therefore now no condemnation. There is zero condemnation. I need to figure out my slide, like how to get my mouse less restrictive. The other part, and I literally can talk about all of these things on their own for ages, but anger is something that I feel that a lot of women have repressed, that they don't, like we don't allow ourselves to feel angry, generally because we get told we're a bitch.
That's right.
If women, like, I feel like men, they're allowed two emotions. And as if I look at being in high school and things, they were allowed to be horny and they were allowed to be angry. You know, if they punched a guy or if they hooked up with a girl, there were high fives all around. But all the other emotions they had to suppress. And then we married them and we were like, please share your emotions, but they were humiliated for them. And so we have this fight with it. But those are the exact same two feelings women weren't allowed to have. If we were horny, we were slutty, and if we were angry, we were a bitch. And so it's this like this opposite spectrum of emotional language that we have. But anger is really, really, really important. And it's important to clarify that anger is not aggression. Aggression is rage, it's uncontained anger. Anger is saying there's something wrong here, I don't feel safe. It's really important to know that. But we suppress it. We go, no, it's okay. I probably did this wrong, or I probably made a mistake here, or it's probably my fault because I was too harsh on the kids, or I shouldn't have asked him that way. I knew he was in a bad mood, or we suppress our anger because we're trying to not be a bitch. And excuse my language. I know that that's not the best word, but that's what we got labeled with.
Yes, we get it.
So for me, for women, it's really important to start conversing with our anger, having conversations with it, because it's trying to tell you something, like that burning coal, saying this isn't okay. It doesn't mean, okay, I've got to leave everything. Like as a parent, myself, two neurodiverse kids, myself being on the spectrum, there are times that I just want to run away, that I'm just like, okay, that's it. Like my capacity is full. I'm going to get in the car and I run away. The anger can be like there's a massive threat. It doesn't always mean that you have to follow through on what it thinks you need to do, but to be aware of it. Ooh, what was I afraid of? Or what was I disappointed about? Or what was I sad about? Because when I can get into those feelings, then I can get the system to move on. And I feel safer because my alarm system is working. If I don't have an alarm system, I'm constantly waiting for somebody else to protect me. Then there's receiving. We spoke just now about our sensory body, and I think the woman's body is really made for receiving. But it made me also think of the 90s, how we had these shoulder pads, these jackets with shoulder pads. We were like really like these women in the workforce. I understand with feminism, we needed to be able to move into like we are also allowed to work as a working mom myself. But it can put us so much into the masculine, into the provision, into the doing, that we forgot to receive, to rest. I don't know about you, but people compliment me. It'll be like, oh, that's a beautiful dress. And like, oh, your hair is stunning. Like there's this immediate deflection into somebody else's compliment, or, oh, no, I got it at the thrift store. Or, we deflect even the simple thing of receiving a compliment or receiving support, saying, can I help you? That's really hard. But it's so important. We are made to receive. Mary sat at Jesus' feet and received. Jesus said Mary had chosen the better thing. And then rest. What I thought of the other day is, again, God sent Jesus. Jesus literally in like 3 years, from his 30 to 33, roughly around there, he did his whole ministry. Like most of what we hear about is in those 3 years. Excuse me if I've got the exact times wrong, but like he had a limited time. But 3 years is like very little. So I would have thought God would be like, okay, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to eat, you don't need to go to the loo. We're going to make you bypass all those things because we've got to reach the world. Have you seen the state of things? But he didn't. In that short time, he fasted. He went and got lost in the desert, not lost, but went on these trips. He went on the boats. He slept in storms. He rested. There's enough time. It's a mantra that I tell myself often because I find myself, because of that alertness that we get and they're constantly trying to get to be, I've got to get the supper done, like all these chores, that I feel rushed. Like there's enough time. And I literally feel my body leading back instead of go, go, go. We spoke about our survival brain earlier, and there's the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, which is not for today, but the other parts of those are protective systems. But when we're safe, our body goes into rest and digest. The resting is where our digesting happens. That's where the cells get to renew, where they get to heal, where they get to kick out the ones that aren't doing so well and reform the cells that they need to and focus on what they need to. Resting is where the digesting and the healing, the sorting out happens. Sleeping, the whole day's thoughts, all these things get compartmentalized, get put into the right place, getting sorted into where they need to go. So rest isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. Then these are just some extra thoughts that I thought we could go into, but I know I have been talking for quite a while, so I do want to make sure you guys aren't on a tight schedule and you have to get somewhere, or if you've got questions.
Oh, Tahila, we don't have a time limit, but I know that it's a lot later in your day, so you be the one to judge that. We're all just really, I speak for all of us, I think, just really enjoying everything you're sharing.
Yes.
I like just being with you.
Yes, I do too.
I like being here with all of you. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
These just last little thoughts I'm going to go into very briefly, but the surrender I spoke about earlier, I think that we've mixed up obedience and surrender, and like the obedience is to lean in to hear. And we've often misconstrued the obedience to you better do as I say. That's people that are abusing their religious word for power. But when you look at obedience, the original word's meaning, it means to hear, to lean in to hear. And that for me again goes into the tuning in with a radio dial, like tuning in, like, okay, what does God see about this situation? What does God feel about the situation? I'm an avid puzzle builder. I love puzzles. It's like my hobby. But I often picture God, he's got like this whole picture. He sees the box, the box of the puzzle. And I've got this little piece of blue, and I'm convinced it's this backdrop of the mountain because it's also blue. And I'm trying to force it in. I'm tempted almost to take the scissors and cut it so that it can fit better in there because it has to go there. And he's got the zoomed out picture, and he's like, that's not that mountain. That's the river over there. And so for me, that tuning in is sometimes like, okay, does this piece go there? Doesn't? Okay, I'm going to put it down. So the surrendering is for me that tuning in and listening and being willing to hear what it says. As a kid growing up in church, I often saw people literally getting onto the stage and saying like, oh, I would have never spoken on the stage. I was so scared of people, but God told me I had to be here, and here I am. And it petrified me. It's like, I gave my life to the Lord, and now I'm singing on every street corner, and I'm like busking, and I'm talking to people. Never would have thought that I would do that. And I was literally like, God, I love you very much. But if it means that you're going to make me do that, I can't give you my life. I'm very sorry, but I'm not going to go stand on stages and sing and do those things. That's not me. Like, I didn't realize at the time that God puts the desires in my heart. So the things I desire come from Him. So me with the work that I'm doing, that's not me obediently listening to Him. It's like, oh, like literally being on the spectrum. I'm dyslexic. Like ADHD. I swapped my letters around, and I wrote a book. And now he's using me for another book. Like I loved writing as a kid, but I was always like, oh, I'm very bad at it because look at how my letters go and I'm not making sense. And here he's writing books through me. It was a joy, something I loved doing. But I put it off and then I listened. So the surrendering and the obedience isn't about authority, it's about alignment for me.
Yeah, I was thinking I didn't want to go to Africa and have tarantulas crawling all over my body like Tarzan.
Have you been to Africa?
No,
Then
no.
I won't send you a video of my son picking them up and letting them walk on his.
I know that they're not supposed to be as bad as I thought they were in
No.
5, but 10 maybe.
I don't let them walk on me either. I would also not love that. It's not just you. But they're not bad, but it's a good example. Boundaries is something I just want to touch on. Again, this is something I could talk the whole day on, but we often think boundaries is about keeping people out. Like I'm putting up this boundary to keep you out. But what a boundary actually is, it's sort of like defining who I am so that I can stand up for her too. Being a good girl, I've often found in relationships, it means not being me. Being so attentive to what my kids will need, my husband will need, my parents will need, what everybody else will need, that I forget to hear what I need. And then I don't land up in a very good relationship. I'm very useful and pleasant and practical, but you could pay someone to do what I do in those relationships then because I'm not in it.
Oh, that's good.
And so the boundary is about keeping you in the relationship. Sorry.
Would you mind going over that again about boundaries not being keeping people out, but defining who you are? What did you say?
Yeah, it's for me, it's about figuring out who I am so that I can stand up for her and keep her in the relationship. So it's about making sure that Tehila is also in the relationship, whether it's with my kids or with my husband or with a work colleague, because what we tend to do is, oh, it's okay, I don't need that, they need that. Or we try to serve others. And there's a part of me screaming, like, I don't want to go there, or I don't want to do this, or I don't feel like this, but I do it anyway because they want it. And then I quieten my voice over and over and over. And so for me, a boundary is just saying, hey, your voice matters too.
That's really good. Yeah, that's so good. I like hear that really loudly.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's a gift. It is a gift to every relationship. God made you uniquely you. So there's something you bring that nobody else can bring. So when we have these boundaries, it's not about being forceful or selfish, even though it could feel that way. It's about they get to see me too.
Yeah.
They get to know who you are.
Exactly. And let me be very clear about boundaries. Something I learned the hard way is that when I started having boundaries, I thought everybody's going to be like, woohoo, go girl, you've got boundaries, you put them down. They didn't like it. All of a sudden I was saying, no, I don't feel like that. Can we do something like this? And it's like, since when do you not want to go there? Like, well, I've actually never liked it and now I don't want to go there. It's not about being selfish, but there's resistance from the people that's gotten away with you just saying yes to everything. They're going to be like, she's changed. And that's okay.
To me, for 15 years, he was a doormat, but I didn't know it. I thought we were getting along so well. He wanted to do everything I wanted to do. And then he quit.
Yeah.
And that was a shock to me. But I like him the way he is now too. I'd rather him be that way, actually.
Yeah.
It made me feel kind of deceived. Well, what was I living in?
Oh,
You know?
totally. Yeah. It's good, Betsy.
I call myself a recovering people pleaser because it still shows up sometimes, but I was like that in the sense of doing anything and everything that everybody else around me wants. If you had to tell me it was dishonest, I would have been shocked because I've considered myself one of the most honest people I know. Like I remember if somebody would give me too much change at the grocery store, I would drive back and give it back to them, even if my fuel cost more. I'm like, no, they need to know that they gave too much. They gave like if I pick up a wallet, I will find the owner. Like I'm like, that can't be dishonest. I'm very honest. But people pleasing is dishonest. Like you say, you felt deceived. It is. There is this deception because when I realized, like every time my husband said, "Do you want to do that?" and I said yes, I wasn't being honest.
It's really good.
There is a dishonesty about it. And so when we're lying to others, we're lying to ourselves too. And so we need to get that honesty. And it's not intentional. It was never that I wanted to betray my husband or deceive him. It was, I thought I was doing the nice thing. I was being the martyr. But being the martyr meant I was walked on. It didn't mean I was seen. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a very important point.
And I love that that's not from a place of arrogance. You know, you must see me. It's just, it feels so restful, I guess, in just saying, no, I already am a swan. I will act like a swan. I
Exactly.
forgot I was a swan, but I'm going to act like one now. And you'll figure it out eventually. You know, you'll get there. But it's not on me to force that on someone else either, you know?
Beautiful. Exactly. Somebody once said, faith it till you make it. And I love that because they often say, fake it till you make it. And I'm like, faith it till you make it. So that's one, sometimes I have to faith it till I make it, but it's exactly that. And it's not arrogance. It's if I have to like, well, I don't want to go there because I've said yes for 15 years and now I don't want to. It's more from a place of, I really don't feel like that. Can we find something else? And there are times that, you know, the kids really want to do something and then we do it. Like it's not like every time, well, we've got to find a perfect solution. There is compromise in relationships, but I'm part of the negotiation instead of just being the buffer. Rituals and exercises. There was this guy, I can't remember his name now, but he said there's three things he does. He did a happiness talk on TED, on the TEDx. But there's three things that he does. He says when he wakes up, he thinks of 5 people he's grateful for. When he gets home from work, he spends 3 minutes just being present. Like, I'm home, I'm in the space, what's going on around me? And I've noticed I've come home from work and it's been like, oh, you guys aren't in bed yet, and look at the mess over here. It's the next task instead of, hey, how was your day? How are you guys doing? What's going on? Phones away, present. And then the third one he says is whenever he meets someone, doesn't matter what his brain says, if they're safe or not safe or whatever his brain says, he says, I'm glad to meet you. Just having this ritual of acknowledgement, soul to soul. Like it doesn't have to be deeper than that, but just, you don't have to form a relationship, but just this, I'm glad to have met you. Gives himself that peace. Something I add to it though, something I like to do at night before I go to bed. I don't always remember, but I find putting a little post-it note next to your bed helps so that you see it before you go to sleep. Telling myself 2 things I'm proud of doing that day. It's not a ego boost, but I found myself so often going to bed with, oh, I didn't get to this, I didn't get to this, I didn't get to this, I haven't done this, I shouldn't have spoken to the kids like that, and I can't believe I haven't done this yet, and all these to-dos that my brain wouldn't be able to switch off. And so I find, and I've even taught the kids this, like often when they go to sleep, I'm like, what's 2 things you're proud of yourself for today? Just to switch your brain from I haven't done and I didn't do to, that was pretty cool. Can be 2 things you're grateful for, 2 things you're proud of. You can even do it for each other, but I find it a nice, just turning the dial down from the noise of everything you still want to do and need to do. And that's me.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, ladies.
Where in South Africa are you?
I'm in Hermanus. It's a little town outside Cape Town.
I was in Cape. One of my good friends is from Cape Town, so I was there a long time ago. But I've heard of that. I think we actually went there.
Oh, amazing. It's well known for the whales. So we're going into whale season now. So the southern right whales come really close to the coast and breach, and it's very beautiful.
This has been very meaningful
It
to
has
me.
been.
Some of the things you've mentioned are questions I didn't realize I had, but especially the one about boundaries, because I think I've been taught that it was not nice to have boundaries. It was like keeping people out. So I
Yeah.
see it from a perspective. And yes. And the thing I appreciate most, Tahila, is that you offered to do this. And so my goal for this weekend was to have it be spirit led and not to plan. This has been the most beautiful gift to me on so many different levels. And you started out speaking about, I think you were talking about silence or being quiet. And that is, we actually kind of practiced that last night. We're learning how to be together with the Lord in silence.
Yeah.
And put all the noise out. So the fact you started that was very interesting, since that was on my heart too.
Yeah.
I thank the Lord and the Holy Spirit for working through you and bringing you to us.
I really enjoy your book too.
It's kind of neat now to know you, and then to read the book and to kind of connect to. I think. Cool.
So what can we do for you?
Sure. I've got two thoughts. The one part comes up for me is to be that mirror for each other. That's one. To be that space of allowing yourself to feel what it feels like to be this one. Because like those grade ones or those 4-year-olds, it was you too. It was an invitation. It wasn't a threat. And I think that women especially, we see each other as competition. There's a lot of threat and competition, and I just remember when my daughter was born, or my first child, and going to a mother group, and I was feeling so vulnerable and like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and the first thing they asked me was whether I breastfed and whether I had a natural birth or not. And I thought, this is like the opposite of a safe space. It's like this interrogation instead of this welcoming. And so we don't need to be threatened by each other. And so for this, the rest of your guys' time together is to practice being a swan that invites the other person to be the swan too. I often think of how we blow out our candle because we don't want other people, like they're going through a dark time, so I don't want them to feel bad because I'm all joyous. I blow out my candle and then we're both in the dark. And that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, that's good.
And then the other part would be just to pray for me because it's a bit of a transition going from counseling. Like I still counsel, but much less than what I usually do because I really want to write this book. Especially I've been in and out of hospital with my son quite a bit. And so I really want to write this book because I feel like there's so much that's going to impact me and the world through it. So I think just prayers for the transition of being able to do that.
So how is your son doing? Oh,
He's good. He's doing a lot better. He had a very bad croup attack over the weekend, but he's 10, so they say it's not normal for 10-year-olds to get croup. It's much smaller kids usually. But they had him on adrenaline in the hospital, and so he's doing a lot better. He is booked off till Wednesday, but doing a lot better. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Thanks again for taking the time and listening to the Spirit and sharing with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really felt it was a spiritual hint. Let's do this.
May we pray for you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad, I love Tahila. I love each woman you brought here, and I love me too. And I am so grateful for what you're pulling out of each of us. Thank you, Mama Spirit, for totally like pulling out the truth of who we've always been, and that Jesus, I see you in the mirror actually right now, in my imagination. And so I bless Tehillah. I bless her to with the rest of being a true sister. I keep hearing that word sister. Like, you're definitely a sister. I bless her family. Thank you for anything that is coming to hinder anything. I just speak your life flow in those areas. Life flow, like whether it be in health or financially, or I keep hearing rest and home. They kind of go hand in hand, but that you would be the details. Thank you for being the details in her rest and home. And that this is, we stand with her. I really feel strongly, Tehillah, sorry, I'm like I get images really quickly in my mind, but I keep feeling like your spirit, just, I'm just a voice of the obvious, but like truly, like, we stand with you, and everything that I have is yours.
Yes.
Like, yeah, everything I have is yours. Like, and I stand with you in what is the revealing of Jesus in every detail of your son, of what's going on here. But we say that, Jesus, you reign, you are enough, and you're good. You're so good. Thank you that this agape love would be revealed, that would cast out all fear. Kiss Tehillah in the places. Keep kissing her. Don't stop kissing her in those places that speak otherwise. And I bless her to like know the sweetness of your love even all the more. Thank you for illuminating every area and for your kindness. Let her feel this love overflow even today, tonight, as she sleeps. And that her kids would be marked by it, by an overflowing love, tasting, smelling, all of it. So yeah, in Jesus' name, it is so.
Amen. So, thank you. The things you saw resonated deeply.
Yeah, we love you. Our arms are long and extend wide. That's right.
Thank you all. I feel strongly I'm going to be in America sometime, and I'll be able to meet more.
Absolutely. Well, you are here today in a very big way. All of California, it's trumpeting.
Now I want you in Texas.
And you must all have a very special time. I really know that the Holy Spirit is enjoying it with you, savoring every moment.
Maybe you could come to Hannah's meeting in November.
In November, yeah.
Who knows? I'm open.
Well, let's consider this. I heard it is so.
Well, then it is. Oh, thank you all. Have the most beautiful day. Lots of love.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm sorry.